Hello, in this video we're going to look at what is meant by confidence intervals, which is basically something that will help us understand survey results that are published in the media. So according to a recent Angus Reid survey, and I actually think this data was from December, so it's a little out of date. According to a recent Angus Reid survey, 58% of Alberta residents do not approve of Jason Kenney's handling of COVID-19. These results are accurate, plus or minus 4%, 19 times out of 20. So this statement is a statement you will often see added on to study results, survey results that are published. They're giving you a little bit of an error wiggle room. And so the margin of error is that plus or minus 4%. So what is the wiggle room? What is the error on that survey? The confidence level is how sure we are. So in that case, this would be 19 out of 20 or 95%. So we can say we have a 95% confidence interval here. Confidence level. The confidence interval then is what range of values I would expect that the true value probably falls between. So the plus or minus 4% on the 58. So the confidence interval would be between 4% or 54% to 62%. So essentially what I can say based on this data is that I'm 95% confident that the true percentage lies between 54 and 62. Because we haven't asked every single Albertan this question. They've asked a representative sample. And of the sample, 58% did not approve. So what they're saying is the likelihood is that probably 95% chance that the actual percentage of Albertans is going to fall somewhere between 54 and 62%. The one way to interpret it is basically to think, if let's say I did a sample of 100 people, I asked 100 people. If I were to repeat that 20 times, let's say, I would expect that in 19 of them, my percentage, my true percentage would be found somewhere in this interval. That's not exactly what it means. In university stats courses, you'll get into more nuance, but it is kind of a helpful way of thinking about it. So one way that we can reduce the margin of error, in other words, make this a smaller error, or else increase our confidence level, is by using a larger sample. If we use a larger sample. So rather than asking 100 people, I ask 1,000 people and so on. Although past a certain amount, you really don't need to. 95%. So the most common confidence intervals you'll see would be 9 out of 10, so 90%. That one's less good. 95% is very common. 99% would obviously be a very, very high confidence level. Another thing to note is the relationship between them. If we reduce the margin of error, then what we do to our confidence level is we also reduce it. So if we reduce the margin of error, we reduce our confidence level. And the reason for that is we can now be less confident that the data is found in this smaller interval. So what that means is, so for example, in this case, I am more sure it's in the interval 58 plus or minus 4 than 58 plus or minus 1, for example. So if you say to me, is it between 54 and 62? Well, I'm 95% sure of that. Is it between 57 and 59? Well, I can't be quite as confident. Whereas if I go the other way and say, well, what's the probability that it's between 45 and 70? Well, then I'm actually much more confident of that. In fact, I'm 100% confident that it's between 0 and 100. So we have to find a balance between being confident enough without making the interval completely useless. So that's usually what statisticians are trying to balance.